And welcome back to another episode of the Screen Addicts podcast. I am one of your co-hosts, Cinema Steven Sosa.
And I am the movie man Marsh. I'm back.
He's back, ladies and gentlemen. We're all back. We're both back. I mean, Chris isn't back, but we're still here. It's and see, right off the bat, technical glitches. I wouldn't expect anything less or more from our show.
Exactly.
It's crazy, man. It's been a really, really long time since we've recorded. And I mean, I don't think it's really on anyone's part or fault. Life gets in the way. We get busy with stuff. And you're busy with your brand new job. And Chris, he has a brand new job in himself. And he's just been a busy, busy man. He's coaching, doing the super dad thing and all that stuff. And here I am just watching all this shit like an idiot and loving every second of it. So without further ado, bro, I mean, I basically what we're going to talk about is just all the stuff that we watch, not all of the stuff that we watched last year, but kind of summarize it down to a top 5 of the movies that we saw last year. And it's funny, most people do the best of 2021 lists in January. Here it is February, and I want to say right off the bat that that's my fault. Like, I could have pushed to do this episode weeks ago, but I was so stubborn in the fact that I haven't seen Licorice Pizza yet, that because I knew that it was going to be in the top 5 of my list. I just knew it. It's a P.T. Anderson movie. I haven't seen one of his movies where it didn't make a top 5 list that I had ever done, except for maybe The Master. I think that was like one that, didn't really hit with, or maybe Phantom Thread. Actually, I take it back. He has had some movies that weren't more than stellar, but I was so looking forward to Licorice Pizza. And you know what? It was funny. I was in Dallas a couple of weeks ago, and it was playing at one theater, which was the renovated Texas Theater. And I had been wanting to go there for the last 10 years since they renovated it, but I haven't lived there. So I hadn't had a chance to go. And I told my dad, I said, look, I know I'm only here for a couple of days, but if we can wedge in a trip to the theater to go see Licorice Pizza, that would be superb. It didn't happen, which is okay. I did get to see all my family and stuff. So, I guess family, movies, yeah, you had to make your sacrifices because, man, here in Panama City, they do not show shit. We do not get any of that stuff. We're lucky.
Kind of like here.
Yeah, I guess that's true. I mean, growing up in Amarillo, I had to say that going to Dallas was one thing that I had to do to see some of those indie flicks that came out in the late 90s, early aughts, if you will. Well, I guess even to this day that they don't show any of the indie flicks that we want to see unless they're nominated for Best Picture. If they're nominated for Best Picture, then there's a good chance that they'll show them at the theater to give audiences a chance to see, some of the movies that have been nominated. Because that's the thing about the Academy altogether, is that they have these movies that are nominated. Nobody's ever even seen or heard of them, which is probably why the ratings have been dwindling for the Academy. They're just steadily dropping, man. And they haven't announced any of the Academy Award nominations. They announced, or they've had the Golden Globes in our absence. And apparently they didn't even have a ceremony for that because nobody wanted to support the Hollywood Foreign Press Association.
Nope.
And it's laughable when you think about it. Like, some movies are nominated in the comedy musical category that typically aren't a comedy musical, Yeah. So it's like, West Side Story won for it, which is a musical, but if you watch it, it's definitely not a comedy, But I don't know, man. It's pretty crazy. Before we start our top 5 lists, I did want to talk about how we lost a lot of people too, a lot of celebrities in our absence, man. And one of those celebrities was Betty White. Man, I know, like, it's a sore spot for you, and I know you were in love with her and wanted to be with her to this day, So my I'm remorseful for you. But yeah, and see, now we're laughing about it. This is terrible.
I know.
But I mean, but Betty White, that's her job. She wanted us to be uplifted by her. And
exactly.
But man, what a shot. And you know what really sucked about that was that she was like 3 weeks from
2
turning
weeks away from 100.
Man, that sucks so bad. I feel so bad. Like, just hit
Mhm.
the century mark, man.
Yeah.
That's terrible. Do you know what she passed from? Did they ever say?
I think I read that she like passed in her sleep or something.
Mm.
So it was just because she was 99.
Yeah, I mean, when you think about it, it's like at that age, it could be anything. She probably breathed too heavy or something. But yeah, and then we also lost Bob Saget, Mr. Danny
Hmm.
Tanner, Full House fame. And it's so funny that Bob Saget, everybody remembers him from as Danny Tanner in Full House, obviously. I mean, that's what we grew up knowing him as. But then, man, he went on this whole like comedy run there in the mid 2000s as this like kind of shock comic. Some of the shit he was saying was just like so vulgar and dirty. And you're just
Oh,
like,
it
oh
was
my,
awesome.
yeah, it was great. Like Bob Saget is a nasty bastard. I like this Bob, but
And if anybody saw the Aristocrats, his version of the Aristocrats joke is beautiful.
that is a perfect encapsulation of his post Full House career. Is his bit in that movie, which is a funny movie. If anybody's ever seen
Oh,
that, that's a hilarious movie. I think Gilbert Gottfried's was probably second to Bob
mm,
Saget's in that one.
yeah.
But yeah, so rest in peace, Bob. And we also lost Sidney Poitier, classic. They call me Mr. Tibbs himself. And man, yeah, legendary
Meatloaf.
actor. Meatloaf passed away. I guess apparently he died of COVID. He was
Yeah,
yeah, he was an anti-vaxxer that was really
he
vocal
was
about it.
anti-vax, anti-mask. He said, "If COVID's gonna kill me, it's gonna kill me."
I
Well,
mean, he called it, he's a bat out of hell with that one. But it's, politics aside, that's just your thing. If you don't want to take it, fine. If you do, cool, go for it. Whatever you feel is personally best for you, you do it. But unfortunately for Meatloaf, yeah, that's a bummer. And it wasn't it also noted that Louis Anderson, I think, died the exact same day, or his announcement of his
Something
death
like
was the
that.
exact
Yeah.
same day. And man, poor Louis Anderson. Like, golly, what was it? Life with Louis. Louis, like we just had a run of Louis comic and comedy in the 90s when we were growing up. And very self-deprecating humor. And man, he was hilarious. He was a good actor. But just wanted to clear those out, pay respect to those legendary icons of pop culture and cinema and television. But without further ado, man, top 5 movies of 2021. 2021 was an interesting year, if you will. It was a time when the theaters were finally opening back up and people were going back to the theaters, and some movies were making massive success. And well, pretty much Spider-Man Away from Home is what, up to 800 million domestically.
Yeah.
Man, and it's funny, like we could have had a whole review on that movie alone, and it would have been really good to have Chris, because he's like the one person that was anti Spider-Man. Like he just did not connect with it and he didn't care for it. And that's totally cool. That's
Yeah.
totally cool. That's what I wanted to talk to him about, was like that level of opposition was really good to have, because I didn't know really anyone that didn't care for it. I've had some people that were like, yeah, it was cool, nothing. And then some people were like, it's the greatest Marvel movie ever made. Me personally, I was like, I loved it. I thought it was like,
It was good.
I enjoyed it more than the Avengers movies, to be honest with you. But yeah, the box office saw some rejuvenation in the last year, and that's good, because with AMC stocks, bro, you want it to be bountiful, be plentiful, if you will. And I don't know. So I guess streaming giants were really big still, because I mean that's just the way of the world as it is. Like movies are coming out on Netflix, on Prime, Hulu. Everybody's trying to get a piece of that pie, that streaming pie, if you will. And I think a lot of movies did very well this year. A lot of TV series. I think series are better in that regard than movies. I mean, what do you think? Do you think TV? I mean,
I'm still having trouble reconnecting back into the TV world
Yeah.
because, yeah, I gave it up a long time
You're a
ago.
movie guy, right? Like
I'm a movie guy.
I can respect the hell out of that. But yeah, but it's funny how some people balk at the notion of watching like a 2.5 or 3 hour movie, but then they can binge watch 10 episodes of Netflix new series. I'm like, what the hell are you talking about? Didn't you watch like 4 episodes of X show last week? It's, you wasted, well, not wasted more time, but you spent more time watching that than just some movie. And I don't know, I run into this situation where I'm like, oh my gosh, like I'm so caught up with movies, but there's a new TV series that I'm interested in. Like Netflix has that In From the Cold with Margarita La Viva, and there goes my dog. Um, what's the time? Yeah, but there's a new series on Netflix called In From the Cold with Margarita La Viva, who was in The Invisible. She's like a Russian John Wick, if you will, and that was really good. And but Reacher came out, the new Jack Reacher property on Amazon Prime. They released it a day early, actually. They released it last night. Dude, I ended up watching the first 4 episodes because Sonya fell asleep. She wasn't, she was real tired because now she's back to work at 5:30 in the morning. She wakes up, and so sometimes she'll conk out at like 7 o'clock, man. And so I'm like, well, I'm wide awake. So here we go, baby. And I ended up watching the first
Yeah.
4. And Amazon Prime's been doing that thing where they'll release like the first 3 episodes of something and then have you come back every week after that. No, but with Reacher, all eight are ready to go. So I'm like, oh, thank you. I'm about to binge through this. But yeah, so I mean, basically what I was getting at is that the level of viewability is just so high and there's just so many things to watch. But for this list, for right now, we're going to stick with the movies for you, Jerome. And then we'll probably talk about any possible TV shows that you watched last year. And if you didn't, I've got some. So without further ado, what was your number 5 favorite movie of 2021?
Number 5, I will go with my boy Denzel, and I may not have understood a damn thing about it. But you know what? The tragedy of Macbeth was so damn beautiful that it had to be in my top 5.
Solid choice, my man. Apple Plus's Tragedy of Macbeth. And you know what? The one thing that I thought was crazy about that was that it wasn't a Coen Brothers film. It was just one
Yeah, it was just
Coen
one
brother.
of the Coen.
I mean,
so
I
now
get
Denzel's worked with a Coen brother.
yeah, it's really weird. I said Joel Cohen is the one that co-wrote and directed that movie, and it's just really weird, not saying the Coen brothers in a property. But I haven't watched it yet. But I don't
It's
know.
good.
I mean, I saw the
Yeah,
trailer.
I don't understand a damn thing they were saying, but it's good.
For Art Thou streaming service.
Exactly.
It's funny.
It's that Shakespearean language that I have no idea what it means.
Hey, you're not the only one. I've done Shakespeare plays before, and I had to talk to the director about some lines that I was giving. I'm like, I don't know how to deliver this line because I have no idea what the hell they're saying. Like, or what am I trying to convey here? Like, oh, just think what you think sounds best. I'm like, okay. But for the most part, I can gather the dialogue and stuff. But from a visual standpoint, my God, it looked absolutely gorgeous. Like the trailer was so beautiful. It's black and white, so they play a lot with patterns and stuff like that. And I believe Denzel is up for recognition, and so is Frances McDormand for acting. I think the whole thing.
So
yeah, I think the whole thing is kind of being looked at as something that the Academy is going to be honoring here in a few months.
They will.
All right, solid pick. So yeah, Tragedy Macbeth is on Apple TV Plus if you subscribe. My number 5 is actually on Amazon Prime, and it was the movie that came out right at the cusp, right at the end of December, and it is The Tender Bar, starring Ben Affleck and Ty Sheridan. And The Tender Bar is set in the 80s with a Pulitzer Prize winning writer who kind of tells the story of his upbringing and he's played by Ty Sheridan, who is Ben Affleck is his uncle, and basically just working at the Tender Bar. It's a bar there in Jersey, and just his upbringing. I don't know. There was just a certain charm that was so ingrained with the movie. The music looked good. The production value was great. And it was directed by George Clooney, of all people. So I can't remember the last time George Clooney had directed something. I don't want to say it was Leatherheads because, oof, like that was kind of a bomb. But yeah, or The Good German. I honestly don't remember the last time Clooney directed something. And well, he didn't direct that one Netflix movie he did, right? Where he was in space. I don't know.
No, I don't
I,
think
I don't
so.
think he did either. But anyway, well, he did direct this one, and it was just very wholesome, very charming, and it had kind of rough edges here and there, but I just absolutely loved it. So my number five was The Tender Bar. Okay, so I guess I'll go back to me on number four. And speaking of Ben Affleck, um, Ben Affleck was also in my number four pick, which was The Last Duel. It is the Ridley Scott film that it stars Matt Damon and Ben Affleck and Adam Driver and Jodie Comer, who I've took notice to a lot last year. She is great, man. It makes me want to start that Killing Eve show because I hear she's like a superstar in that show. She plays a some kind of an assassin or serial killer or something like that. But The Last Duel is a film that Ridley Scott, I mean, it's notorious last year for bombing, basically. Like the production cost a lot of money, but the film bombed at the box office. And of course, Ridley Scott, the old grumpy, cranky grandpa that he is, was trying to say that, oh, it's because of movies like Spider-Man. Like millennials don't want to see a movie of this high class art. And I'm like, well, I mean,
Make it good and
yeah.
maybe people will go see it.
Well, see, that was the thing is that it is really good. Like I kind of understood his gripe to a fault. I said, well, I mean, I can't really knock the guy. Like his product delivered, in my opinion. I thought it was really great. It's about the sexual assault of a knight's wife, played by Jodie Comer, and how the three different perspectives of it. So it like takes one perspective of Damon, then hers, then Driver's, and how it like kind of all weaves together to see well who was right, whose perspective is correct. Like it was really well done. And of course it's Ridley Scott, so the production value is going to look great. Anytime that man makes a movie set in medieval times, it's going to look beautiful. I'll tell you that much. Like it's like Kingdom of Heaven. I think I watched that early last year. I watched the director's cut, which is like 3 hours and 15 minutes long.
It's
And I've
better than the theatrical cut.
It's night and day, man. It is so much better. I was like, I would have seen this version in the theater. It makes the whole movie just so much better. Because I saw the theatrical version, I was kind of like, okay. But man, that director's cut was fantastic. And I don't know. I think The Last Duel is actually on HBO Max for anybody who wants to watch it. But it's really well done. It's well acted, and I agree with Ridley. I fall with Ridley on the sword of The Last
It's
Duel.
just a long slog.
Yeah, it gets pretty slow. It does. But man, just the intrigue towards the end. You're just like, man, this is really good. So I do want to say that The Last Duel was good enough to make my number four. All right, man. So you're number four.
All right, number four, Nick Cage time. And not his first movie of 2021, but his second movie of 2021. A direct-to-video action psychotic Nick Cage, Prisoners of the Ghostland. And oh my God, is it Nick Cage being Nick Cage.
I mean, I'm not surprised you put a Nick Cage in your top five, let alone that high on your top five. But I do have to agree, Prisoners of the Ghostland is a balls to the wall, just crazy movie. It very much embodies the man's work as of recently.
I mean, when you got bombs strapped to your ball sack and one blows up, yeah.
That's not gonna make for a good day.
No.
But yeah, that's a pretty solid choice. And if anybody that likes like weird obscure movies, Nick Cage has been supplying them in bountiful loads the last few years, between Mandy and Color Out of Space. Like, and what's that new one that he's got coming out where he plays himself in like another dimension or something like that?
I forget what it's called. It's got some weird name, but yeah, he's playing himself,
Mhm.
but a more amped up psychotic version of himself. And he's playing characters from his old movies.
Really?
Yes.
Oh my god, I didn't know that part of it. That sounds
Yes.
amazing.
It's going to be great.
Dude, this movie was like tailor made for you. Do you have some kind of stake or did you write it or something? It's like, man, I'm gonna see your name in the credits. Yeah, that's pretty awesome. I like when he does obscure stuff like that, where he breaks the fourth wall. Very much like Adaptation. You know, when Adaptation came out, I just love that so much. How it like blended real life and you know the fictional aspect of things. But man, that's really exciting. And you know, speaking of Nick Cage, brings me to my number three. You talked about the second movie he released. Let's talk about the first, which was Pig. Pig, pig.
Him and his damn truffle pig.
I absolutely loved Pig. It was so good. And I, he basically, that's it. He has a pig. He lives out in the woods, and this pig digs for truffles. And it's truffle pig. And then he saves those truffles, sells them for a lot of money. But somebody stole his pig. And I mean, they could have gone a very John Wick route with this, where he just like leaves a trail of blood looking for the people that stole his pig, but he doesn't. It's a little bit more modest in his actions of trying to reacquire said pig. And but I don't know, it just, the visual, it looked great. The acting was fantastic. He was so good in it. You know, he's real docile. And usually we think of Cage as, I'm Nick Cage, the Wicker Man, bees, you know, but in this one, much like his role back in Joe, when he did in that movie Joe in 2013, which is one of my favorite Nick Cage's movies, it's like that. He's very docile, very quiet, and just kind of beaten down. But then you kind of grow to understand like why he's so like depressed. And it was such a great movie. But yeah, Pig, I loved it. I loved Pig. Very good. Which brings us to your number two.
Number three.
Oh, was it number three? I'm sorry.
Yeah.
My bad.
My number three would be, it came out early in 2021. Bob Odenkirk's Nobody. Oh, damn. That is an action romp in the vein of John Wick. Oh, yeah. Bob Odenkirk goes insane and just starts killing everybody. It's awesome.
Well, yeah, speaking of John Wick, well, it's from the same creators of John Wick. And when you watch it, you're like, okay, this makes sense. And I heard a rumor that they were trying to tie Odenkirk's character in with the John Wick series, as if they kind of worked in the same areas of special force or wherever, you know, like they were part of the same kind of area of the assassins or something like that. I don't know. But man, I absolutely love Nobody. I love the end too, not to give spoilers away too much, but just the fact that like Christopher Lloyd is his dad and RZA is his brother is just, that's so badass, dude. I love that. And I think that actually I saw that on HBO Max too. Like you can stream that on HBO Max, and I highly recommend you do, because you know we talk about long movies. That wasn't a long movie. It's like 85 minutes tops, and then you're done.
It's a quick watch, and it's worth every minute you spend with it.
Nice. Okay, which I guess brings us to our number twos, if I can count correctly this time. So yeah, you had yours. So go ahead. Number two. What was your number two?
Number two, Edgar Wright's Weird Last Night in Soho. This movie is just weird, and it's Edgar Wright. And if you like anything Edgar Wright did, you will love Last Night in Soho. It's great.
Agreed. And you know, the funny thing about Last Night in Soho is like it is Edgar Wright, but then it's not when you think about it. Like it has he has a very stylistic quality of his filmmaking. It's very kind of fast and flowing, and I think he's starting to improve as a director, especially like with something like Baby Driver. Was it like a few years ago? Like the way he shot the action was so good. Like it's so much more cleaner than say he did in Hot Fuzz, you know? And but like with Last Night in Soho, I think it was more about the story than
Oh
anything
yeah.
else. So it's like actually helped him refine himself as a storyteller rather than someone so visually dynamic. And man, I don't know that. I guess the main girl, she plays this fashion design, or she's a fashion student that goes lives in Soho in London, and she's kind of uncovering this murder that took place, and it's kind of taking this really supernatural turn where she's seeing visions of this girl who was a prominent fashion model, and she was murdered, played by Anya Taylor-Joy, who,
Yep.
man, that girl's been hitting it hard lately, like Queen's Gambit, just all the stuff that she's had coming out. And I guess the girl, the student, was played by Thomasin McKenzie, or Mackenzie Thomas, something like that. She was in
Something like
Jojo
that.
Rabbit, and she was really good in Jojo Rabbit. But man, she took front and center on this one, and it was, yeah, I have to agree. It was a little long as well, but
Yeah, a little bit,
but
but
but getting to that
it
resolution was really
you
good.
can easily get through it all.
I'm not going to give spoilers, but
It
that
pulls
ending,
you in, and you're just there with it till the end.
and the thing I like most about it, I'm not going to give spoilers, but I didn't guess that ending. I didn't think
Nope.
that was how that was going to turn. I was like, oh shit. Well, that's kind of crazy. So I think that was a really good pull. But yeah, Last Night in
that,
Soho.
that's Edgar Wright for you right
I was,
there.
yeah, I was surprised you picked that one. That was a nice little twist for me as well. You picking that one. I didn't expect you to have such high regard of that movie. But yeah, you're right. It's a good one.
It's a great movie. I love it.
Not bad, not bad. Okay. Well, my number two, this is biased as hell, and I don't care. But if Spielberg's gonna make a movie, it's gonna get on the list. I don't give a shit. It's our podcast. Nobody's regulating our standards for rankings. I didn't make it number one, so that's okay. But it's West Side Story. Now, West Side Story would typically come in at like number 5 because, well, I'm just putting it on there. But
It's been done
yeah,
many times.
yes, but it was really, really good. I was like, oh shit, this is actually really, really good. And Janusz Kaminski, man, that guy hasn't lost a touch as cinematographer, because I've got to tell you, the way that movie was filmed, it just looked so flashy. So like, and Spielberg himself has said that he's a huge musical fan. Like, he's always loved
Wasn't that
musicals.
his first musical?
Yeah, it's his first musical. It's the first movie he's co-written since AI, which was over 20 years ago. So man, he's like all in on this project. He went with Tony Award winning writer Tony Kushner, who did Angels in America, popular Broadway show. Like, they went all in on this movie, and he was 100% emotionally connected to it. And it was fantastic, man. Like, it looked so great. It looked like a Spielberg movie. The way that it's shot, the way that everything's layered out, the actors. My one gripe was that, well, it's not really a gripe, but it's kind of an issue for the film. I think that the box office hurt with it because the movie wasn't dubbed. Like, so half of the cast are natural born Puerto Rican actors, and the others are Italian. So when the Puerto Rican actors are speaking, they're speaking in Spanish with no subtitles. And I was watching, and I'm like, okay, well, I'm picking up most of this, but I'm like, how is anyone that can't speak a word of Spanish could understand what they're saying? So it was a really weird flex that Spielberg's like, no, I don't know if it was about cultural appropriation or what the issue was here. I said, yeah, but it's cool that you're casting these actors, but when you're eliminating the opportunity for the half of the audience to understand what they're saying, that disconnect isn't good for the film, and I thought that
Yeah,
was
most American audiences won't know what the hell's being said.
right. And so I was like, I wanted to take Sonia to see it, and she wanted to see it, but she was like, I said, no, wait till we can watch it at home where you have subtitles. My daughter, Madison, even was like, hey, do you want to go see West Side Story? I'm like, normally I would jump at the chance to hang out with either of my kids when they wanted to. I said, look, let me tell you, we could see something else, but you're not going to want to see West Side Story right now because there's no subtitles for half of the language, half of the dialogue. And In the Heights, the Lin Manuel movie that came out last year, that was a great film, but there were subtitles for all of the Spanish speaking parts. So you're like, cool, I understand it. And but with that, I was like, that's pretty odd that they decided to go that route. But that's okay. It was a great movie. It won the Golden Globe for Best Comedy Musical. I'm going to lean on the musical aspect of that nomination. But yeah, it was great. Typical Spielberg. but then not typical Spielberg. It was a really, really interesting dynamic the way that that movie came together. Um, so before we run down our number ones, we always do honorable mentions and stuff like that. And I'm also going to read Chris's top 5 list for us because in honor of him, we were going to do this together. And as you know, life gets in the way. So here are Chris's top 5 movies that he wanted us to read for him. Number 5, Marvel's Shang-Chi. Okay, not bad. Big hit.
Yeah.
Number 4, Disney's Cruella, which actually I really enjoyed that movie. It was basically a Devil Wears Prada remake, like with the banner of a Disney villain, which is cool. Gunpowder Milkshake, which was on Netflix, that was a pretty badass movie. Number 2, King Richard, which Will Smith will definitely be getting acclaim for. Did you see King Richard?
I haven't watched it yet. No.
It's really good. It was.
I know all about the Serena. They're all about the Williams sisters. So I really don't need to. I think a biopic about their dad.
I don't think it was so much of the informative aspect of it as much as it is Will Smith's performance that's really captivating about that movie. Because man, he embodies that character, and he hasn't embodied a character since. I mean, probably when he played Ali. He went all in on Ali. And that got him a nomination as well. So I think that this one's going to nominate him as well. And of course, number 1, I was going to take this one, but for Chris, in honor of his DC loyal fandom, was Zack Snyder's Justice League. All 4 damn hours of it. They talked about the Batman, the Rob Pattinson movie is going to be 2 hours and 55 minutes. And people are like, that's so long. I'm like, that's not long enough, in my opinion. But and a couple other movies I had noted here was the Tomorrow War with Chris Pratt, the Prime action movie. Good. I love that movie, man. I ended up watching that twice. I was real impressed by that. Finch with Tom Hanks, that was really good. A couple of A24 submissions with the Green Knight and Lamb. Definitely embodied the weirdness that A24 likes to throw out there. Free Guy with Ryan Reynolds. Did you see Free Guy? Yeah. That was good.
I saw part of it. I haven't watched it all yet.
Jodie Comer, she's in that too. She was great. Encanto, Disney's Encanto, which, come on, man, that was good stuff. Man. That was really good. No Time to Die, the final James Bond installment. That was a solid flick. Did you see Halloween Kills? Yes. That was interesting. I thought it was fine. People were real critical about that movie and the weird supernatural turn that it takes towards the end of the movie, but I was fine with it. It's just a movie. The French Dispatch, Wes Anderson's submission to last. Did you see The French Dispatch yet?
No,
I haven't watched it either. There was something about it where I wasn't like when the Grand Budapest Hotel came out, I had to see that movie. There was just something about it. I just had to go see it. But with The French Dispatch, I'm still like, I'm going to watch it eventually. I just haven't gotten around to it. The Harder They Fall, the Idris Elba Western on Netflix, which was really good. Coda on Apple Plus was a fantastic movie, and that's getting a lot of award nominations about the girl that has deaf parents and a deaf brother, but she can hear, so she signs to them and communicates with them. It was a really good movie. Another movie that's probably being looked at for Oscar consideration for Best Picture is Godzilla versus Kong.
And Don't Look Up.
yeah, Don't Look Up. Well, I was kidding about Godzilla versus Kong, but Don't Look Up. Don't Look Up is definitely that's definitely getting some kind of acclaim, which was funny. I thought it was really good.
Oh, that's a great movie.
It was funny how a lot of people were complaining about the concept that it was just going to be like basically right-wing bashing, and I'm like, no, they bashed everybody, rightfully so, in that movie, and that was good. That it was like down in the middle. But Injustice, the DC cartoon, which is like one of the best ones I've ever seen them do. No Sudden Moves, the Soderbergh movie, that was pretty solid. Oh man, there were some bad ones too, like Reminiscence with Hugh Jackman.
I didn't see that.
Oh man, what a dud. The Little Things with Denzel, not to rain on your boy Denzel or anything, but it wasn't the worst movie by any means.
No,
but it had to be
very good either.
Yeah, it had to be the most disappointing for sure.
Yeah, because it had such star power in it.
Yeah. And the Many Saints of Newark, the Sopranos movie, that was kind of disappointing as well. Yeah. So without further ado, I'll go ahead and do my number 1. And right off the bat, Suicide Squad. DC Suicide Squad. Now I know that this isn't a movie that holds any kind of artistic integrity or value for that
Oh hell
point.
no! But it's just
I
great.
I love it. I absolutely and with my list, man, my top 10 lists aren't movies that really embody like cinematic qualities as far as like an art house perspective. Like I just think of the movies that I loved watching the most. And for me to watch a movie twice with all the content that's out there, like Suicide Squad is I watched it like 5 times, man, before I bought the 4K, before I bought the Blu-ray. I'm just and Connor watched it like 8 times on HBO Max when he couldn't get enough of it.
It's good.
It's fantastic. It's like James Gunn, not held back, like no holds
Yep.
barred. And
It's the James Gunn we love that
yes,
Marvel kind of puts a
neutered.
leash
Yeah,
on.
kind of neutered. And you know, he made that announcement that Guardians of the Galaxy is going to be the last of his run with the Guardians
Mhm.
film. Like Volume 3 is the last one he's going to do. And I'm thinking it's because he's having so much damn fun over at DC.
Oh
And
yeah,
like with the
they
Suicide
give
Squad,
him carte blanche.
right? And with the Suicide Squad, it's leading to him doing Peacemaker, and
Uh-huh.
that show is amazing, dude.
I
Like
still need to watch it.
let it finish, because like once you're done, I think they're almost coming to an end. There's only like 6 or 7, maybe 8 episodes of it, and when it's
Oh, okay.
done, yeah, it's almost, the run's almost through, and I'm guaranteed, just wait, because then you'll want to binge all of them, man. It's so good. It's funny, it came out around the same time the Book of Boba Fett came out, and people are
Mhm.
like talking about the Book of Boba Fett. It's not people don't hold it in high regard like they do the Mandalorian, for whatever purpose or reason that is. Like I still haven't watched it yet. I'm just gonna binge watch all of them when they come out. But Peacemaker is kind of stealing a lot of its thunder. And yeah, I mean, Suicide Squad, number one for me. So please, sir, please tell me your number one movie of 2021.
All right, number one, and it's a more popular movie. It was one that was anticipated for a couple years, been pushed back. Denis Villeneuve's Dune
Yes.
Part One.
Ah, well done with the part one. Man, what a swerve that was. You're watching the movie and then it's like part one. You're like, oh shit, good.
Yeah, because once that thing ends, you want part two right now. And that's one thing that really pissed me off about Warner Brothers. They wouldn't let him film them back to back
I think with the
because,
budget, as much as high as the budget was, they probably wanted to, hedge their bets. Like they're like, well, this
yeah,
could
I
potentially
guess.
flop, and then we'll be on the hook to make a sequel. Not that they give a shit what the fans think of anything, seeing how Game of Thrones ended. But
Yeah.
if I'm being honest, Dune's probably my number one too. But I didn't want to be a greedy bastard like I usually am, and I said, okay, you can have Dune. But I saw that, and I watched it. I was starting it on TV. Or I was actually starting it on my laptop. I'm like, oh no, no, this is too small. So then I went to my TV. I'm like, oh no, this is too small. I'm gonna go to the theater and watch it. So yeah, it was so gorgeous. It was like just Denis Villeneuve, man. That dude is just an artistic master. He
he did the impossible. That book apparently is impossible to adapt, and he did the first half of it perfect.
Is Frank Herbert still alive? I don't think he's
I
still
think
alive.
so.
Yeah, because I was like thinking, man, if he, the author of the book, and if he had seen it, he probably would have just been floored by it. It's so good. It's just absolutely fantastic. The acting was great, the visual, and it's hard to see something different, from a visual standpoint that doesn't look like
Mhm.
everything else, but with this one, it just looks like an entire world where it's not duplicating off of something like Star Wars or any fantasy film or television series that has this like weird obscure terrain that you haven't seen before. It was so good. And even like the quieter parts of it, you're still fully engaged in the slower parts because it's so visually arresting that you're looking at this and you're just like, this is incredible to look at. But yeah, Dune, that is a solid number one to pick. Solid.
He also showed why George Lucas pulled a lot of Dune into Star Wars.
Oh, for sure. For sure. Man, yeah. Now I feel like watching Dune. I just got the 4K of it in, and Sonia hasn't seen it yet. So yeah, we'll be looking forward. I'll be looking forward to watching that again. Well, to wrap up here, I guess that's going to do it for our best movies. And like you said, you didn't have any television series. Oh, there is one TV show. You know what? I think next week I'm going to record like TV series that I took off with last year. But with you, I know there's one, Dexter, New Blood. That was one that came back last year that, man, that, not to give spoilers or anything, but I thought that there was going to be more, but I guess that's it. It was a one-off season, and take that for what you will. But I thought it was good. Clyde Phillips, who was the showrunner of seasons 1 through 4, which are the best of that season, came back to do this, which, if anything, however it turns out, like, it's already just better than that shitty season 8 that we got last time.
It's better than 5 through 8.
Yeah, absolutely. Okay, man. I appreciate you coming on here. I know you got to get off to work pretty soon, and
I do.
We're gonna try and get some more out there. I think I'm actually. Do you have anything coming up? Anything you want to plug?
No, not really.
Yeah, sounds good. Movie Man Marsh on Twitter is popping off still, so that's good. I'm actually going to be working on a new show with Sonia. She's probably going to produce it for me. That's in the works. It'll be like a Screen Addicts network show, but it's going to have its own little legacy going on and stuff. Creative juices are always flowing, man. I need to get it out there. As dirty as that sounds, I didn't mean to. And we're on everything: Facebook, Twitter, Instagram. Kind of wanted to start a TikTok page, but man, it's just too much work. And we can't even record a damn episode enough to be on there. But yeah, and Screen Addicts Fanatics is still good. That's like the one thing that I would like to thank the listeners for, is to being active on Screen Addicts Fanatics on Facebook, the Facebook group. It's so engaging. People are still into it. People still listen on there, and we plug our stuff whenever we have it. Like this episode, we will. And yeah, man, I appreciate the listeners. I appreciate you. And it's nice to see you in this realm. I know I talk to you every day, but but recording the episode, it's just good to have one out there. And I can't make any promises, but I will say that we will start churning out a couple more, a little bit more frequently, if we will. But
we'll try.
All right, man. Well, adios, amigos.
Yep. Have a good one.